When you're driving, when I got a CDL years and years ago, they taught defensive driving. It was called the Smith system. And I learned a lot of defensive driving skills that really find their way in my teaching as an educator in price action. You may not realize it, but it has a lot of sound logic. You don't want to be reacting to the drivers around you. Now, obviously, we would have to. In price action, you don't want to be reacting to the knee-jerk reactions in lower time frames, because you could be convincing yourself rather quickly, oh, it's not going to do what I thought it was going to do. Let me do this because now this 1 minute chart or this 5 minute chart has done this or that. The same thing with driving. You need to be anticipating not only what you're going to do if this or that happens, but you have to drive the cars around you. As a CDL driver, you have to learn to anticipate when they're not going to come over into your lane without signaling. And it's probably a game you probably played in your own driving. You're thinking, okay, because I'll tell my wife all the time, I say, watch this guy up here. He's going to come over. He's not going to signal. And he's going to go over one more lane, and he's going to go up and race past everybody else. So how do you know that? 30 seconds later, he does it. She's like, what in the world? Whatever. And of course, she rolls her eyes, and I'm peacocking next to her like, I'm ICT, baby. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Of course I'm going to know he's going to do that. So the same thing happens in the market. You have to anticipate the thoughts and expectations of individuals that are going to see price action, and they're going to anticipate nothing in the future. They're going to react. They're going to chase, which is why my Judas swing is so effective at the right time. So there's a time and place for everything, but you are not to try to react to price. Even in your entries, you're not reacting, you're anticipating. When you're moving your stop loss, you're not reacting, you're anticipating. When you're taking your partials, you're not reacting, you're anticipating it going to a specific level, so that way you can press the exit or have your limit orders there to scale off your potential partial profits that always pay 100%. They never, ever fail. So when we look at price, or when we're looking for setups, or we're trading a particular model, time is a very important factor. There has to be a reason for that trade to even materialize. And you don't want to go in there in the first few minutes of trading and say, okay, this is it. I'm going in because now the markets have opened. Everybody else is dogpiling in. Everybody else is creating this congestion like rush hour. And I'm afraid I'm going to be left behind. So I have to do what? I have to react to what I see in the price action. So therefore, I have to do whatever else is doing, and that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. Now, compare and contrast that mindset, which is very stressful, mind you. I mean, think about it. How can you know with any assurity what you're doing is statistically probable of having continued success when you're just guessing? You're guessing. You're reacting to what you think you're seeing in price, when price is always fluctuating up and down. Now, put that to the side for a moment and then think about it like this. Let's talk about each individual session, okay? And some of the characteristics that each one of those trading sessions have, and how you should go into those trading sessions with the proper mindset for anticipation, not reacting. Because your job as a trader, unlike 99.999% of every other trader that wants to share what they think is good advice, your job is not to react to price. It is absolutely not. And if you believe the statistics that 90% of traders actually fail, why would you take advice from people that are all saying the same stuff? You got to be able to react to price. Your job is not to be able to predict the future. It is absolutely your job to predict the future. That's why most of them fail, because they don't have the skill set, number one, to anticipate things that are generically in price action, and they're all time-based. You can set clocks to it. And that's the reason why I'm consistent. When I talk about things that should happen in the marketplace, The primary function behind the accuracy is I'm only really focusing on specific times because those times are algorithmic. And if there is an algorithm, and this is this for a moment, let's just put it aside for a minute whether there is or isn't. I know there is, okay? Most of you know there is, but let's make the case for a discussion for the idea that maybe there isn't an algorithm, okay? If there isn't one, how is it that a trader can go in and trust that a setup will perform a specific function in price delivery that we can anticipate? It would be hard to do that. Like what rule-based ideas, apart from pattern trading, which I'm not a pattern trader. I don't look for price patterns. I look for inefficiencies and liquidity. That's it. That's all there is. And I look for that in time. Specific times of the day. There's very specific times of the day where you as a trader can say, I have to be able to control myself and not allow impulsiveness to come into the marketplace and draw me in to trades that would equate to overtrading, which is a problem even for traders that can be profitable. And maybe you have done this. You can go in, you can find a trade or two and get profits, but then you want to do something else. Maybe because you see me tweet something, maybe you see other traders out there, other influencers, and you see them doing something. And you can't get the dopamine hit that you know that they're getting when they win, if they're even winning. You don't know if they're being honest with you. So you seek that hit, that feel good, that rail like on cocaine. Okay, you want to get a high. You can't treat the markets like a drug. You can't treat it like, you know, a bump of adrenaline. This is a business. You need to mind your business. And when you make money, the job is to keep the money. But ICT, listen, man, you don't understand. I had a trade. I was up $1,200, and I allowed the market to scare me out. I was looking at this guy on YouTube, and he said he was going to do this and do that. It scared me. I read one of your tweets, ICT, and it made me get out of the trade too early. And then I regretted it because it ended up making my profit target and even more. But I got out of it because you scared me with a tweet, or I saw something else that made me second guess myself. Okay, what's the root cause of that? It's not me. It's not the other person. It's not the other YouTuber or influencer. It's you. You didn't trust your model. So if you don't trust your model and you're not following a rule-based idea and you take a trade off that could have paid your full profit or more, you can't worry about or more because if your targets have limit orders on it, how can you get upset that it went past it and went more? Why should you be upset about that? Your business model was you were taking a trade to that point. Your business model says you had a stop loss at this point, risking that much money. You were anticipating in the beginning, but now you're reacting to the influences of maybe something I've tweeted, a student of mine has done, other influencer, other trader, other YouTuber. You're not trading your trade anymore, is it? It's you reacting. Reacting to trades, reacting to price, reacting to other people's success or failures is a recipe for failure. You have to keep that stuff at a very small level of influence. And it's better, really, to not have it at all. I promise when you guys get to the point where you know what you're doing and you leave social media, you turn it off, your trading is going to go through the roof. Your performance is going to be astounding. You're not going to care how you measure up to somebody else. And you're not going to worry about what they're doing, how bad they hurt themselves, or how much money they made, or what their payout is, or where they're at on the FTMO leaderboard. All those things are there to cause you to do more of what is likely to incur failure. The statistics are there. 90% of people fail doing this. So if you entice them to do it more frequently with larger leverage than they should, You can trade with 15 contracts with your funded account challenge. Well, guess what? That is a recipe for them to get another reset fee from you. And my son went through that. Oh, it's only 100 and some dollars or whatever it is. I'll get it. I'm going to prove dad wrong. Okay. Well done. You paid them. You made nothing. So he has to go back to square one. What's square one? Waiting for specific times of the day. So let's look at the London session. Now, as far as indices, I haven't talked too much about indices, but we'll be doing that. And I actually got some live sessions we'll do during the London hours. What's that? I got to call out of work. I can't miss that ICT. There you go. Anticipation. You can't react to it. So London, by characteristic, what I'm referring to is, we always refer to things in New York local time. So whatever the time is in New York, you need to have a clock set at your trading desk that is always showing you New York local time. I don't care where you live in the world, everything algorithmically is running on New York time. I don't care who tells you otherwise. I don't care. Okay. This is the way it is. Just submit to it. So when I talk about specific times of the day, it's always on the basis of New York. Okay. So London time between 2 o'clock in the morning, New York local time, to 5 a.m., New York local time. That's a 3-hour window. And the sweet spot is between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock. So those 2 hours, but it can extend to 5 a.m. Generally, you're going to get some kind of false breakout. Okay. And that's not earth shattering. There's always been some idea of expectation of anticipating some false breakout in London. That's just the natural characteristic to it. What you need to be concerned about is where we are coming from on the hard time frame, weekly and daily chart. If you're trading in London, if you're not referring to the weekly and daily for your setup, you're trading blind. You have to look at what that weekly, what's the importance of the weekly chart, Michael? Well, I talk about how you can anticipate, not react, anticipate where that weekly chart candle that's forming, or that will form tomorrow when it starts on Sunday at 6 p.m. when all trading begins. Now we're starting a new weekly candle. So you want to anticipate the likelihood of that weekly candle expanding up or expanding down. And you're looking for an inefficiency or stops that's most likely going to be the draw. It doesn't mean you're going to be right. Sometimes I get it wrong. It's okay. You're going to, especially with the climate right now, we don't know what war is going to break out. We don't know if the bank's going to close over here. We don't know if, the Fed's going to do that. There's so many things that are compounding the difficulty right now. And anybody that tells you it's easy, they're lying to you. They're just championing their getting lucky sessions at the time, and they're probably not showing you all the times that they're losing. But you have to factor in what that weekly chart is doing, likely to do, and that starts your bias, bullish or bearish. And on the daily chart, you have to confer with the previous day's range. Now, let's assume for a moment that the weekly chart, you think that there's going to be an expansion lower on whatever market you're trading. Now, this is both Forex and index futures and commodities. Okay, so it's not, unless I say, here's another general rule of thumb. Unless you hear me say this only works for this, which is very, very, very rare.